I'm going to do a reading from Seed to Civilization, The Story of Man's Food by Charles B. Heiser, Jr., published in 1973. This reading is from Chapter 7 on the starchy staples, and it's on yams. In prehistoric times, the most widely distributed of the starchy crops were the yams, various species of the genus Dioscorea. There is no need to call upon man as an agent for their very wide dispersal, for the genus contains some 600 species, native to the tropics of both hemispheres. Man independently, in many different areas, discovered that the large underground stems, or tubers, were a good source of food. The tubers of some species under cultivation may reach remarkable size, 6 to 9 feet long and weighing more than 100 pounds. The true yams are largely confined to the tropics and are little known in the United States. Most of the so-called yams in markets in the United States are moist-fleshed varieties of sweet potatoes. One species, Dioscorea bulbifera, is sometimes cultivated in greenhouses under the name aerial potato or yam potato. The small tubers or bulbils produced on the vine are sometimes used as food in parts of Asia and Africa. Yams grow best in humid and semi-humid regions. The plant is usually grown on a small scale by farmers for their own use, frequently in shifting cultivation, so that new fields are sought after a few years. Tuber cuttings, small tubers, or bulbils are used for planting. The plants are usually grown in ridges or mounds, and stakes are often provided as supports for the vines. The harvest season, which is an important occasion to those people for whom this plant supplies the major food source, is celebrated with special rites. After harvest, the tubers are stored and eaten boiled, roasted, or fried as they are needed. Today, the greatest production is in West Africa, where in many places the yam is the principal food plant, as it is in parts of southeastern Asia, which is second in production. Large amounts are also still cultivated in the Caribbean. The species introduced from the Old World, which first came to America as food supplies in slave ships, are now probably more extensively cultivated in the West Indies than is the Native American plant. Yams, however, no longer are as important in the Old World as they once were, chiefly because of the introduction of other tuber crops, particularly manioc. In one sense, this is unfortunate, for yams have a higher protein content than has manioc. On the other hand, the large amount of manual labor required to grow yams makes the crop a relatively inefficient one in terms of food yield for the man-hours spent on it. Little work has been done in an attempt to improve the yam, chiefly because it is a crop that is consumed locally and does not enter into trade with the developed nations. The cultivated plants are little used except as a source of food. Some of the wild species have also been used as food in periods of famine by some people in the tropics. Many of the wild species, however, contain toxic substances and require special treatment to make them safe to eat. They have been known to cause deaths in humans. It is some of these same toxic substances, however, that have made the wild species useful to man in some other ways. Some of them have been used as fish poisons, similar to the way retinone is used, and around the year 1940, the steroidal sapogenins in Dioscorea were found useful in the manufacture of cortisone and sex hormones. At one time, the steroid drugs useful in the treatment of Addison's disease, asthma, arthritis, and skin diseases were thought to occur only in animals, and their production was very expensive. As a result of the discovery of plant sources, the cost of hormones fell from $80 a gram to $2 in 10 years. A still more significant use became known in 1956 when Dr. Gregory Pincus announced that a drug derived indirectly from Dioscorea would stop ovulation and hence prevent conception. Up to that time, the steroids that prevented conception had to be taken by injection, whereas then became possible to use oral administration. Tests with the new birth control measure in Puerto Rico and Los Angeles were successful, and the pill was on its way. Although most birth control pills are wholly synthetic today, Dioscorea still figures in their origin, and in this way the plant has contributed more to controlling the world hunger problem than it will ever do as a food.